Greetings, dear viewers. I'm Quill Quickcard, and this is not going to be fun. Welcome to Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Am I going to beat the game today? God, no. Am I going to try to beat the game today? Well, I mean, yes, but do I actually anticipate any degree of success? Not really? This is going to be painful. Okay. This game is frustrating. This game was designed to be frustrating. The explicit purpose of this game's construction is to be frustrating. That is just the reality of this game. And I am going to have to keep dialing in the sensitivity a bit. My preferred mouse is actually a trackball. That is what I use. That is what I have always preferred. And a trackball is not really ideal for getting over it. But it's not... I mean, it's definitely by no means impossible. There we go. Okay, I'm over the tree. I don't know how long I'm going to play this today.
There's no feeling more intense than
because this is very frustrating.
You deleted your homework the day before it was due.
This here
or if you left your wallet at home.
Is close to as far as I've ever gotten in this game.
If you won some money at the casino and then put all your winnings on red, but it came up black.
Okay.
Your best shirt dry cleaned.
There we go.
And then immediately dropped food on it. If you won an argument with a friend and then later discovered that they just returned to their original view.
Alright, we need to reposition a little bit.
For that, like if you've already had a bad day, then what you're about to go through might be too much. Feel free to go away and come back. I'll be here.
The early parts of the game where I can be very sort of slow and methodical with my movements shouldn't be too terrible.
Always, even your mistakes. This game is a homage to a free game that came out in 2008 titled Sexy Hiking. The author of that game was Jazzuo, a mysterious Czech designer who was known at the time as the father of B games.
Nope, that's going to be down.
Assemblages of found objects. Designers slap them together very quickly and freely, and they're often too rough and unfriendly to gain much of a following.
Okay.
Building them than as polished products.
Progress.
In a certain way, Sexy Hiking is the perfect embodiment of a B game. It's built almost entirely out of found and recycled parts, and it's one of the most unusual and unfriendly games of its time. In it, your task is simply to drag yourself up a mountain with a hammer. And that act of climbing, in the digital world or in real life, has certain essential properties that give the game its flavor.
Nope.
No amount of forward progress is guaranteed.
I plan on playing this until I get frustrated enough that I no longer am having fun. That is my plan. That might end up taking me an hour or two,
people never got past
Or,
it.
you know,
Prod and you poke at it, exploring the limits of
maybe
your
it's
reach,
going to
and
take me
trying
like
to find a way up and
15
over.
minutes.
And there's a sense of truth in
I
that lack of
genuinely don't
Most obstacles in
know.
video game worlds are fake. You can be completely confident
Okay.
in your ability to get through them once you have the correct method or the correct equipment or just by spending enough time. In that sense, every pixelated obstacle in Sexy Hiking is
Okay. Oof. Before today, I had about 20 minutes of total play time with getting over it. I bought it once a couple of years back, you know, just kind of a goof, and basically didn't touch it since because I'm not really a fan of just doing something to feel frustrated. And, you know, even when I played something like Elden Ring, where, you know, it's very, very challenging and often frustrating, it always, it never felt, I don't know, the difficulty would sometimes feel unfair, yes. But it's also a world where I have the tools that I need to overcome that with effort and with, you know, some practice and some luck. This is going to be a very different experience. Because no matter what the calm narrator might say, this game was specifically engineered to be frustrating. And I really think that was an intentional choice, a legitimate part of the design philosophy. And, you know, I can respect that. It's just not really the sort of thing that I usually will choose to spend my time experiencing. Which is kind of weird. Like, there's different types of frustration. And I genuinely don't know how to even begin talking about classifying different types of frustration. Because I really think it's always going to be something subjective. And it's going to be something where, you know, one person's threshold might differ from day to day and even from hour to hour, depending on the other stressors that they are facing. Okay. In that regard, playing something like Getting Over It is actually an interesting way to sort of examine
Obstacles in Sexy Hiking are unyielding, and that
how
makes the game uniquely frustrating.
I hit my
But I'm
stress
not sure
limits.
Jazro intended to make a frustrating game. The frustration is just essential to the act of climbing, and it's authentic to the process of building a game
Okay.
about climbing. A funny thing happened to me as I was building this map.
Whoop.
I'd have an idea for a new obstacle.
Don't launch myself down.
Test it, and it would
That's
usually turn out to be
fine.
unreasonably hard.
There we
I'd
go.
bring myself to make it easier.
Nope.
It already felt like my inability to get past a new obstacle was my fault as a player. rather than as a
Focus.
Imaginary mountains build themselves from our efforts to climb them. And it's our repeated
Focus.
attempts to reach the summit that turns those mountains into something real.
Nope. Oh. Nope. grab on. Okay. I can launch up from here, and I can hook onto that rock over there. Okay, same plan. Just maneuver myself a little bit over. Okay. Whoop. So... there we go. Alright, set myself down. So I need to lift up. I'll have a little bit more room to work with from here. Okay. There we go. Alright. Back on the rock. Launch. You definitely have more precise control when you keep the cursor close to Dionysus here. But it is difficult when you move at any noticeable, like any significant velocity, to keep that cursor close to Popman. Okay. All right. Go. Careful. Here we go. I still do not feel that I am in any way at a point in this game where I have like a significant sense of control over moving at any pace that actually has speed. So, I'm going to proceed very carefully, very cautiously. I just want to see how far I can get in, I don't know. Certainly not more than 2 hours. I figure I'll probably be here for hour and a half, maybe. It really just depends how long it takes me to reach a point where I just don't feel like I'm having fun anymore. I've seen this game played enough times that, you know, I get it. I get the oh ha ha funny, you know. I've watched other people play it and I have laughed. I have enjoyed seeing them suffer, and it's an interesting kind of entertainment, I think. But I don't think it's really about wanting to watch people suffer. I think it's about wanting to watch how people deal with being upset or stressed or challenged. I think it's that reaction that is the more interesting part of the art. And it's those reactions that are interesting to compare and contrast and observe. Some people seethe and rage when they get even just moderately upset. Some people stay alarmingly calm or just become completely passive and expressionless. And I think most people tend to sit somewhere in the middle. And the way that a person deals with a stressor at any given time is not always representative of how they'll deal with a different type of stressor. Or even the same stressor, but in, on a day where circumstances have been different. There's always variance. But I do think most people tend to have patterns in the way that they deal with stress and anxiety and being upset. Most people have some kinds of patterns.
World, you're building with ideas. And that can be like working with quickset cement. You mold your ideas into a certain shape that can be played with. And in the process of playing with them, they begin to harden and set until they're immutable, like rock. And at that point, you can't change the world.
Of course, Bennett Foddy's got their own opinions on all this.
New ideas.
I know that I've definitely not always had healthy ways of coping with my stresses, my anxieties, my concerns, my being upset. I've had a whole world of unhealthy coping mechanisms, both aggressive and passive. Everyone grows and learns, and I think everybody tries in some way to increase their own power, their own ability to sort of control the world immediately around them. Even if it's just in small ways. I think it's an essential part of being human. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing inherently wrong with seeking that kind of power, the ability to control your own circumstances and your own thoughts and feelings and your own life. Indeed, it's usually a very healthy thing to pursue that kind of a goal, but There's a lot of unhealthy ways that people do it. One of the ways I try to control my own little world is by playing games. I love games. Games are fun. Games are interesting, and they're exciting, and they're entertaining. And, you know, they also provide their own escapism. When you focus on the game, you don't have to focus on something else. You can connect with people over games, over a mutual escapism, and there are things that you can evaluate for their own artistic merits as well. That's one of my favorite coping mechanisms, and, you know, out of the fact that I just find it to be very pleasant, it's definitely my biggest hobby as well. Hence the existence of this entire channel. But it's not games for everybody. One thing I've always found fun to do, well, maybe fun to do is not exactly the right way to put it, but one thing that has always interested me is experiencing new emotional extremes. Whether they are, you know, positive or negative. I find them fascinating. It's interesting to experience an emotional state that you have never reached before. And, you know, I've had moments in my life where I just...
You've done this part before.
Where I just
do what you did the first.
sit with how I'm feeling and sort of just try to remember it, to remember the sensation of it. The physical sensation, the emotional sensation. Simply because it's new and it's fascinating. That's what I did the very first time I ever had a panic attack, actually. Aside from the fact that I was feeling completely stressed out and paranoid to the point of basically losing it, I also could not help but appreciate how fascinating that extreme sense was. I journaled about it in rather extensive detail at the end of that day. And it's similarly fascinating to me when I feel exceptionally angry or happy or sad to a degree or in circumstances where I never have before. It fascinates me. Even if it's not pleasant, it fascinates me. That's one thing that video games do very well and very consistently. And I am sure if I sat here and actually played Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy for the next 4 hours straight, I would probably reach a point of... Sorry. I would probably reach a point of upsetness that would be utterly fascinating to experience. But I don't want to do that. Just because I can find the experience fascinating does not mean I actively seek out negative stimulus like that. It being fascinating does not make it suck less. I understand what I need to do here. I understand how to get up this area. I understand how to go up this ledge and up through that tunnel. What I am having trouble doing is executing it. And Mr. Potman is not being the most helpful advocate. Okay. That was basically where I've been trying to get to. Like, right on top of that rock up there. That is my goal. If I can get up there and launch myself upward, then I can probably get a hook on top of the first light. Okay. So the hammer really doesn't have any way of gripping at that angle. Oof. This is where my slow, methodical approach really begins to break down. Whoa. Okay. Go. There we go. We go. Once I know that I am going to lose control, I just need to make sure that I absolutely do not push myself off. Okay. There we go. Come on. Come on. Relax. Just stay calm. All right. There we go. Okay. It's that hop that I am getting. which I think is mostly due to not... Okay. No. Carefully. Carefully. Lift. And go the other way. Okay. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay. Can I make it? Okay. That was the furthest I have ever gotten in this game. Every tiny bit counts. Okay. 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 All right. Focus. Nope. I think there's two types of first-time players with this game. And I've watched people who fit into both categories. The first are people whose initial approach seems to be more like mine. Very, very slow, very, very methodical. The second are the ones who just start swinging their hammer wildly. I've seen both methods succeed. I have seen both methods fail. I've seen both methods yield only middling results as well. Whoop. Okay. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. A new threshold. Okay. There we go, there we go. That is a new record. So the next step is to get on top of this gray rock.
For years now,
We did.
people have been predicting that games would soon be made out of prefabricated objects, bought in a store and assembled into a world. And for the most part, that hasn't happened.
That's how I make
Because
games.
the objects in the stores are trash. I don't mean they look bad or that they're badly made, although a lot of them are. I mean they're trash in the way that food becomes trash as soon as you put it in the sink. Things are made to be consumed and used in a certain context, and once the moment is gone, they transform into garbage. In the context of technology, those moments pass by in seconds.
I think that's definitely one perspective. I also think that that is an oversimplification. Because indeed,
Over time,
the developers
more and more
themselves
revenue
provide
digital land
the
for
contexts for
now
prefabricated
vastly outnumbers
items.
and outweighs the things that are fresh and untainted and unused. When everything around us is cultural trash, trash becomes the new medium, the lingua franca of the digital age. And you can build culture out of trash, but only trash culture. B games, B movies, B music, B philosophy.
I think there's a little more truth to that, but it also misses the point of by what comparison it is being measured as be anything. Socrates was not appreciated in his time. He was a menace. He was a menace to the good people of Athens. They didn't want him peddling his crap. The teachers of rhetoric were considered significant issues in classical Greece at times because they taught people how to make bad arguments that sounded good. This was an issue that was specifically written about. Oh, no.
We've lost a lot of progress. That's a deep frustration, a real punch in the gut.
Not particularly, to be honest. It's definitely annoying. It's not as simple as something is trash because it is not completely original. I think that taking what already exists and tweaking it or commenting on it or using it as an inspiration for something which approaches it from a different angle, I think that's an essence of cultural and scientific and artistic development. In fact, many of absolute classical pieces of culture only exist because of other work before them. Because they are picking apart the prefabricated pieces and presenting them in new contexts. Madoka Magica would not exist if it were not for the magical girl genre of anime. The cute mascot, transformation sequences, this whole love conquers all attitude, things like this. Those were pieces that existed already in other areas, and they created something new out of it. something absolutely wonderful and artistic. Star Wars is another excellent example. For as much original design as there was in Star Wars, at the core of it, the basic idea of the story, the structure of it, the components of the journey and the story it's trying to tell are ultimately originating from earlier work, from the sci-fi films that, followed the Second World War.
The vertical wall here has a way of getting
Indiana Jones was inspired by the old adventure serials. And games, too. Some of the best art that we have, some of our most treasured pieces of culture, are very much constructed out of fragments that were laid down before. And some of them are fantastic specifically because they recontextualize it. So I think simply saying that something that is not new or something that is made out of prefabricated pieces is somehow a lesser piece of art or a lesser anything, a B music, B philosophy, as Bennett Foddy says, I think is a simplification. Or, maybe this is just me talking as someone who plays a bunch of RPG Maker, but, doesn't actually know how to produce their own assets. Of course, there will always need to be original development as well, but I think it's important not to dismiss what Foddy would call B culture. Even this game he opens up by saying is a homage to an earlier work, to something that had already existed. The tree at the beginning, essentially recreated in this game. It does not make it lesser. Whoop. Okay. So I have frequently seen people not struggle with this.
Keep on trying. Don't let it get to you.
I think this is, judging by the dialogue, this is the point by which Bennett Foddy figured that people playing this game might be getting reasonably upset. And indeed, I've seen a lot of people play this and be reasonably upset. Okay. Come on, Diogenes, you gotta work with me here. Okay. Whoop. So, I don't fully understand. There we go. Okay. There we go. Actually making progress.
The ash heap of creativity's fountain. A landfill with everything we ever thought of in it. Grand, infinite, and unsorted.
Yes! Okay. That is progress. I have
There's 3D
always
models of
firmly
breakfast.
believed
Gen X's fan
that this
fiction,
slide
fan
here
magazines, green screen,
is
Shia LaBeouf, Ben
a
Simmons,
reference
on
to
live-
Trogdor.
Facebook's got lifelike bots with unbranded adverts and candid shots of Kanye and
I
Taylor Swift
don't
mashups,
know if that's
car crash
actually
epic fail
the
chips,
case,
Russian dashcam vids, discussions of McRibs,
but
discarded,
it definitely
forgotten,
seems
unrecycled,
like it.
muddled, rotten, untitled.
The curve, the way that the sign behind it seems to give an eye, the little slit, it very much to me has always looked like Trogdor. Okay. This is where I absolutely do not want to fail.
Everything's fresh for about 6 seconds, until some newer thing beckons, and we hit refresh. And there's years of persevering, disappearing into the pile, out of style, out of sight.
I think that can be true, depending on the type of media that you consume and how that you consume it. But not all of it. I can definitely appreciate the poetry that Bennett Foddy is laying down. Oof. Okay. Nope, that's a failure.
Not the falling down, but the staying down.
Okay. That one did hurt. Let's see. Let's see if I've gotten better enough to do these parts a little quicker. I do feel rather more competent with the with Diogenes than I did when I started this. That being said, though, a lot of this is just very, very difficult. Whoop. I don't think I'm ever actually going to beat this game. Not because it's in any way beyond what I could reasonably accomplish, but simply because I don't have the interest to invest the time that would be necessary to really hone that skill to the point that would be sufficient. Honestly, this this song. Some people were really not happy to hear this song when they played this game. Oh, I genuinely think it's hilarious. Alright. I think I'll go at this for another 10 minutes or so today. I can feel it getting a bit more frustrating. And despite the fact that I picked to stream this today, my interest in doing so was not to feel frustrated. I just really wanted to do something that wasn't Elden Ring or Arknights or, you know, one of the other games I've been recording. That's all it is. I just wanted to do something different. And this was one of the things that I had that, you know, I could produce something interesting with given an hour or two. That's why I picked it. Could have been Hollow Cure, Vampire Survivors. I did think about doing Vampire Survivors, but I'm kind of enjoying a break from that after I finally 100% it. Besides, I have no doubt that Vampire Survivors will get yet even more updates. And then I'll play it more again, too. And as for Hollow Cure, honestly, I'm kind of waiting for that one to get an update as well. I don't know when Hollow Cure is going to get an update, but... I mean, it's not exactly a surprise that it's going to. It's not even at 1.0 yet. Okay. Good. I did not check Realm Grinder today. Well, I didn't check it at the time. There's an event going on in that I'll have to check once I'm done streaming. I was thinking that I might try an Elden Ring randomizer next, to be honest. I've briefly seen a couple people play Elden Ring randomizers before. It didn't really appeal to me, but now that I've 100% it, honestly, it might be a fun challenge. Really test my knowledge of the game and just see how far I can push it. I don't know. Might do that. Of course, I still have to record more Maiden Abyss, more Final Fantasy X. I swear at some point I will actually get back to Final Fantasy X. Look, if I can be honest, okay, the issue is that I find 3D Final Fantasy games do not hold my interest as well as the pixel games. That's just the way it is. It takes a lot more effort for me to actually sit down. A lot more effort for me to motivate myself to actually sit down and play them. And I don't fully understand why that is. Like, they're great games. I don't dislike them at all. Well, mostly. There's, some of them definitely have some issues. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've done so many of them over the last few years that it's difficult to find the motivation. But it's always been part of the long-term goal of this channel. And, I am there. Like, I'm on Final Fantasy X. After this, it's just 10-2. And I will be done with Final Fantasy for my channel. Until I decide to either, play a newer one or, I don't know, replay one I've already done but a different version or something. I am so close to the end. I really am. And the fact that I'm not trying to, 100% them is gonna save me a lot of time. The fact that they're voice acted means that I have a lot less actual reading that I have to do as well. I really don't know what it is about them, but Then I got distracted by Elden Ring, and then, now I've been playing Made in Abyss, which alternates between absolutely holding my interest or being a nightmarish slog. I'm still trying to grow this channel, too. Honestly, the difficulties in growing this channel and getting and attracting and growing an audience, those struggles actually frustrate me more than just about anything else that I do. If I'm being completely honest. It's... I always felt that I had, some very realistic expectations for how my channel would grow and develop. And I really haven't been able to meet those expectations. Like, it's only been this year that I've gained any kind of traction whatsoever. But increasingly I have to take time to consider, what I do with my time as, a practical investment. Like, I can't be doing, 10 hours of streaming a week if I'm not generating some kind of a return from it. Even recording and editing sits right around, 10 hours or so of effort a week. That's a little bit easier, though. It uses up a bit less brain space than streaming. And also, when you stream, you really have to have a more significant chunk of time dedicated to it, I think. At least I always try to. I don't know. Maybe if I tried just doing, 1 hour, hour and a half streams, maybe they would still attract good audiences. Maybe not. I'm always trying something new. Like trying to climb up a mountain using a hammer while being a nude man inside of a pot. That's a pretty new experience. Not completely new, but relatively new. Okay. Alright. There we go. Getting back to where I was. There. Alright. We are over the safety. No. Okay. This is where I start to find the game genuinely frustrating. Trying to get past the lip of this What is it even? It's like a pile of chairs and desks. Trying to get past that is very, very difficult. Okay. Alright. Phone. Don't be ringing at me right now. Okay. Nope, that's a fall. Okay. 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 We go.
The soul would have no rainbow.
Yep.
No tears. John Vance Chain.
And I fall once again. Well, I think my performance today has been adequate. And I've definitely made it farther than I've ever been before. And I have also significantly improved my abilities, even just over the last, 15 minutes of effort. So, honestly, I'm pretty satisfied. Plan was always to have just a short stream today. There's still more stuff I gotta do. There's still recording that I need to do. And, honestly, even when I'm trying to be as chill as I am, I can't deny that this is frustrating. It builds up. Everyone has their limits. I'm nowhere near my limits. But I have to save my capacity for other activities I need to do today. That's the way I look at it. So, I am going to try to just get back up this little tunnel again. And then call that good. Okay. Go. Yoink. Either I'm going to get back up, or I'm going to fall lower than where I am right now. I will end the stream under either of those two conditions, and one of those conditions has just been met. So, I think that's all I'm going to do today. Just a nice little hour of getting over it with Bennett Foddy. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.